It is a brand new edition of Flyers Daily. How about for 11/11/2024? That's the edition. Flyers Daily, as always, presented by Ticketmaster. Make more memories live. A lot to discuss. We're going to look back at the week that was. Pretty good week. Some good elements to it for sure. And the week ahead. And we're going to take a bunch of hashtag Ask Billy questions as well from the Flyers fans on Twitter, X, whatever you call it. And joining us, as he always does on Mondays, from PhiladelphiaFlyers.com and NHL.com, it is Bill Meltzer. Bill, kind of a mixed bag this week. They could have won all three games, frankly.
Yeah. What was it, 29 seconds away from at least a point in the first one. And then you could have won the other two. You can look at it philosophically. To me, when the Flyers dug such a deep hole, obviously you need the points. To me, the bigger thing was that from the first game to the third game, especially given the way Florida was playing, the process got a lot better. These are actually things you can take into upcoming game. They have to actually go out and do it, but it started with better defensive structure, and that was starting to improve while there was still no attack going on, or the getting outshot, getting outpossessed, all those things. You run to Carolina, that's the best puck possession team in the NHL, and that result from a possession standpoint ended up being ugly.
Yeah.
Not in the first period, but over the rest of the game,
yeah.
Over the final 40 minutes. Then you ended playing a Tampa team that had been struggling. Flyers did way better on possession. Almost got shut out, but found a way. Owen Tippett scored a very nice goal late to actually get the 1 point. Got the second point in the shootout. And then in Florida, who can't find a team that's been playing better than the Florida Panthers have, even coming back from Finland didn't even seem to affect them. Yeah. They still just kept on rolling. Flyers played about as good a game as you can play against the defending champs. Got the 1 point, could have had two.
Four times in overtime on breakaways, they could have had two.
That's right. And yeah, exactly. That was a wild overtime. That was like a little bit of a throwback to the early days of 3-on-3, where
it was, yeah.
Much more open trading off chance, which is so much more fun to watch, and the constant reloads and retreat to your own blue line and all that.
It was Doc Emmerich, fire wagon hockey.
Exactly. So that was wildly entertaining. Obviously, you want to win it.
Yeah.
But to me, always a shootout. To me, whether you win it or lose it, it's a tie with a bonus point.
Yeah.
So.
But an important point for sure,
and important. Well, the points are needed, as many as you can get. So it was progress this week.
But Bill, the thing is too, you look at the Carolina game. They only get 16 shots on goal. They score on a quarter of them. Yeah. What a save percentage killer that is early in a season for Kochetkov. But you see, finally in the Tampa game, they get 32 shots on goal.
Yeah,
and they really put it. And it wasn't just quantity. There was a lot of good quality in there. I thought Vasilevsky was excellent, looking for his 300th win.
Yes.
And then in the game against Florida, you pound them with 37, 32 in regulation, I think, or 38 shots because he had 6 more in overtime. And, all of a sudden, you're starting to see some of the things that we saw last year, Bill, of the team playing fast in transition. I thought in the Tampa game and the Florida game, they played way quicker.
Yes.
Pucks turned over in the neutral zone, and just inside their zone, they were getting right back up the ice.
Yeah.
Is this a thing where, maybe the beginning of this year, Drysdale's still assimilating. You didn't have Andre here. Seal, the guys that were out last year Sealer was out at the beginning of this year too, and they really didn't have their transition game clicking yet, and maybe that's starting to click now.
Yeah, I think that's a piece of it. Part of it to me started with the gaps were too wide from the defensemen to the forwards. They were up too high, and they couldn't get pucks up to them.
Yeah.
So so many foul clears, so many icings, just so many errant passes. That to me was a big piece of it. They finally started to get that in order. But there certainly is an element to it where Andre, as a puck mover, he's making a difference. I thought Drysdale in the past couple games was certainly contributing in that regard. And then now we're taking this, they have Drysdale playing up top at least right now. Well, that'll be interesting to see when New York comes back how they work the pairings. But Sanheim has done as good a job as I've ever seen him do in terms of joining the play. So they have been
powerful skating too.
Much. Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, he's kind of attacking the ice and coming up very smartly too. These haven't been just reckless jumping into the play. It's things that it's so much part of today's NHL. It's not just the Flyers, but having your defensemen be part of it, truly attacking as 5-man units. And that's been a lot better this week. Definitely, I think the breakouts have been better.
Agreed.
And so these are things that the Flyers can take forward with them. There's still guys you desperately need to get going. But just in terms of the process is looking a lot better right now.
It's attacking as a 5-man unit, joining the play, or sometimes leading the rush.
Right.
Sanheim does that very well. Let's not kind of delay the real big consternation right now with Flyer fans, Bill, because I got multiple questions in hashtag Ask Billy for it. Multiplanetary 888 says Michkov must play in Philly tomorrow. That's referring to the game tonight. Enough watching in Florida. Learn by playing now. Another guy says Art Vandelay. I think isn't he a trader in Seinfeld?
Yeah,
importer exporter.
I think. Yeah.
He says, "Is there any chance Michkov gets sent down?" And then Darren said, "This season is going as planned. MM39 wasn't supposed to be here for 2 more years. Kolosov is playing here. Jet's in the OHL. Emil is providing some good D. They're a young team. Let them grow. All is well. And please, no Zegras." But obviously, that's the big thing. It's that Michkov was out for the Tampa game, and then I was a little surprised that he was still out for the Florida game. And here's why. I know coaches don't like to change things after a win, but they didn't boat race Tampa. Right. They squeaked by Tampa. And if you won that game 4-1, 5-2, I go, okay, you don't make a change. I get it. But you didn't, and you can use that. You can, putting him up there, I don't think it's punitive, but I think it's a situation where everybody has to be held to the same standard. And I think part of the reason why he's in there for 2 games is because Sean Couturier was sent there last year after he was named captain to a healthy scratch. Yeah. And you can't let people get away. You can't have selective accountability because the resentment can then build within the teammates.
Yeah, I think there's an element with that too. I thought strategically going into the 2 games, in Florida, I could understand if you want to have them sit out a game. To me, the Florida game made sense just because the Panthers have been a machine.
Yeah,
that they've been so good 5-on-5,
and they attack you in waves.
And so you're out of position. Puck comes out, you're in a lot of trouble. And so I could understand sitting in that game. Going into the Tampa game, and I'm talking about proactively, I'm not talking about in hindsight. Going into the Tampa game, the Lightning were having a lot of trouble staying out of the penalty box and having trouble killing the penalties they were taking.
Yeah.
It turned out the Flyers only had 2 power plays in that game, so the power play ended up really not being much of a factor. But going into it, I thought your best chance to beat the Lightning might be on the power play, where Michkov has been your most effective player by a pretty wide degree, as a matter of fact. In some cases, creating some power play goals out of nothing. So I thought that wasn't the game to sit him. And I thought it was starting to loom large when the Flyers had their second power play early in the 3rd period, and it went nowhere. I mean, I'm not saying that Michkov alone would have made a difference on that because but
he wouldn't have hurt it.
It wouldn't have hurt it. Something might have happened, right?
Yeah.
And then you're going to the final 5-6 minutes of the game, still losing 1-0. You're in danger of getting shut out until Owen Tippett scored one heck of a nice goal. Probably the only mistake that Vasilevsky made all game. Honestly.
Yeah. Other than the shootout, where I think the book on him was to wait him out, get him down, and shoot high glove. Because both Konechny and Tippett did it in the shootout.
And worked quite effectively. And it's funny, Tip followed that up because he never had a career shootout goal in the NHL until Tampa Bay, and they did it again. The only goal that Bob gave up in the Florida game in the shootout was the Tippett. So it's funny how that worked in back-to-back games for him. But anyway, the Flyers were in trouble of getting shut out, and they found a way to score. They found a way to win in the shootout. So you went from a very frustrating 1 or 2 if they got an empty netter, shutout loss to a desperately needed win, and the Flyers were able to roll that into Florida. So I understand the rationale for sitting Michkov. I didn't love sitting him a second game.
Yeah.
Listen, the coach is the one who makes the lineups. Well, whether I don't know that it was. I don't know that it was the necessarily the plan. If going into it, for example, you don't have Ryan Poehling, right? So Poehling is out. Morgan Frost plays about 9.5 minutes. So Couturier played about 22 minutes, something like that.
Yeah.
And you're trying to win that game that's in front of you that day. Sometimes you have to do that. You have to win the game that's in front of you, and then you go from there. But
because the gain of winning helps build more in that room than any accountability even does at that point. At this point in the season,
for sure, yeah. You to actually follow a better process and get a result, right? Because of where the Flyers are right now. Anytime you don't get the result to follow with it, it's a setback not just in the standings, but it's a setback of okay, how do you follow up the process going forward? Now it's easier because it's easier in the way that you're seeing that this has worked for you. You've actually put a couple goals in the net in the Florida game. Flyers were able to actually generate some offense, get some rewards. Now let's see how they respond against San Jose and going forward. So I think they're a really interesting place. I would expect Michkov is back in the lineup.
Yeah.
Dick Delorier is playing 5-6 minutes a game.
Yeah.
So I think D'Lo comes out, Michkov goes back in, and then I think that the team as a whole has to keep playing that way. If it was really a Michkov thing, then other lines would have been playing the right way, and it would have just been his line. Not clicking, no matter who you had him with. If it was
he does need to play with a little more pace in the neutral zone though, on the attack, especially. Jeff Kirsch tweets in and says, "Would love to hear your guys' take on why the team has played so much like last year with Matvei out the last 2 games, and how they can change that starting tonight against San Jose. Thanks in advance." But yeah, he's got to play with some more pace there. Now, although you watch the first goal of that game against Tampa, and you watch a guy coming through the neutral zone in Kucherov going about 3.5 miles an hour, just like almost sauntering through the neutral zone. Yeah. And then a quick twitch, he gets Ristolainen turned around, he gets Couturier turned around, and Fedotov, I don't know what he was doing on that goal, but I got to give him high marks, Bill, because we've talked about his body language when he gives up a goal and how it usually slumps. It didn't slump in that game. And that's a final minute after your team played well, and you gave up a really bad wrap goal like that. The way he settled in, full value to him for getting his first NHL win and preventing Vasilevsky from not getting his 300.
100%. He kept getting better and better as the game went along.
Yeah. So, and he looked so calm in the shootout.
In the shootout, yeah. That was that couldn't play that better as a big goalie. You couldn't open him up, so there was nothing to shoot at.
He made a save where he had to go from his left to his right in that game in the first period. It was a little like a 2-on-1 down low, like a little small area 2-on-1. And he got over and everything was closed.
Yeah.
Because he was down, his head was down on the puck the whole time, and he just got over and made a really good save. I thought that was a big moment for him too.
And I know several times as the game went along where pucks just hit him in the chest and die there.
Yep.
As opposed to he just got a piece of it. Where as you've said many times, Jason, if you're making a spectacular looking kind of save, it's because you're not in the right position.
Yeah.
You're off your angle or whatever the case might be.
Yeah, you get over aggressive. You got too far to travel. Now you're flopping to try and get the flesh there.
And so he made some pretty tough saves as Tampa started to make a push. He made some of those look relatively easy, although those were not easy saves. So that was definitely an encouraging sign. And my goodness, I mean, talk about Preston the service where Kolosov is supposed to start the game.
Yeah,
he gets hurt in the pregame or the morning skate. He actually got into the morning skate. You you didn't have Urson quite ready yet, so you had to have an e-bug, signed to an amateur contract for a day. I mean, it was all on Ivan's shoulders, and
for a guy that's been pulled now 3 times in NHL games going back to this year and last year in a very small window, you can't tap out of this one, big fella.
Yeah, exactly. There was no. If there were 7 behind you, you'd still be out there.
Yeah.
So
you can't pull the shoot here, buddy.
Yeah, exactly. And he responded. Now it's one game, but it's I mean, talk about desperately needed. Again, there's things to build off of. Now it has to actually be done, but that was, all those things were encouraging.
Yeah, Philly tweeted in for Ask Billy and said, "Do you like what we've seen from Fedotov during the game against Tampa?" He said, "I feel he's proven he can't be written off just yet. Maybe it's a matter of spending more time on ice with the goalie coaching. That's part of it, but playing is going to have to be part of it too. I don't know. If you're going to keep Kolosov here, you got to send him down to the Phantoms. You have to, because he's got to play. That's the big element of it. For him, he's got to get that game experience and dealing with traffic, and the AHL is similar to the NHL in the way they attack." Lauren tweets in for Ask Billy and says, "What are realistic potential options for Zamula?" He says, "Seems as though Andre has clearly earned his place in the NHL, and Zamula has been a defensive liability since day one. #Ask Billy." I don't know where this goes, Bill, because Zamula does have to clear waivers if he were to go down. Yeah. I don't see a world right now, unless the wheels fall off the wagon, where Andre's going down when Cam York comes back. I just don't see it. I think he's a big part of why the transition offense is starting to pick up pace. Transition offense works better when you can hit it with all 3 of your pairings, right. And he's that element. And I was super skeptical of the pairing of Zamula and Andre together, as I was with Ristolainen and Sealer, but that seems to have worked pretty well also, as well as Drysdale and Sanheim for that matter at this point. Yeah. But that being said, where are we with Zamula here?
Well, I one of the things that I don't think was necessarily one of the big positives was was Igor in these last 3 games. Yegor, and honestly, Andre had probably his weakest game in Carolina. He had some rough moments himself.
Yep.
One of the things you always look though is after a bad game, how's the guy bounce back?
Yep.
And I thought Emil bounced back as well as you could possibly ask a defenseman to bounce back after a tough game. I don't think there's any way you get him out of the lineup imminently, and so just on merit, when Cam York is back, I think Andre stays in the lineup. I know going in there's some reservation about half your defensemen being under 6 foot. Right now, you just have to go with who's playing the best, who's been the best for you.
He doesn't play small though either.
He doesn't. Well, he doesn't. He's got that physical size with that physical element to his game, rather.
Yeah, he's got a little bit of bite to him too. Yeah. So
yeah. Oh, for sure. Well, he throws some nasty hip checks. I mean, you better be aware when he's out there, and he's not afraid of. I mean, it's almost I don't know, not to his detriment, but just sometimes he doesn't. And it was brought up during one of the broadcasts actually yesterday that one of the issues last year was he didn't always protect himself very well. Because he'll hang in and he get hit pretty hard. But I think the way that he competes, the way that he moves the puck, the way he moves his mobility going up the ice, all those things have been eye-opening, right? So I think he stays in the lineup. For right now, I think the Flyers will carry 8 defensemen just for now. And then you can make decisions. Injuries are inevitable. So I'm not saying Zamula has gotten his last crack at playing in the top 6. But I think that
it's getting shaky though, isn't it?
His grip on it is getting shakier and shakier as you go along.
Yeah.
I think right now he moves to the 7 and Eric Johnson depending on the matchup, but he's your 8 right now.
Yeah.
And then you evaluate going forward, want to see how Cam York is doing and whatnot. But I think Emil just keeps on. He keeps playing. I think he stays in the lineup.
I remember when he played his first game with the Flyers this season. You and I were sitting in the press box, and I said, "Is this?" I said, "Yes." Is this the time where he doesn't go back? And I was basing that off the camp and preseason that he had because I thought he was the best defenseman in camp and preseason consistently this year. So I think he really earned an honest look. This isn't just a call up because you had a night. I think this is maybe one of those ones where you may want to call the power company up there in the Lehigh Valley and turn it off because you may need to get an apartment here.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think we're right on that kind of cusp right now with him.
I think he's building that case for sure. You have another couple of weeks like this, and I think he gets cemented.
Greg Cellini tweets in for Ask Billy and says, Bill's mentioned too many player-type redundancies on this team. We've discussed this quite a bit going back into the offseason. And he said, and I agree, how long before the team concedes that Cates, Lawton, Paling are the same guy and makes room for a Richard whose speed and knack for being in the right places is noticeable? I thought Anthony Richard performed really well, Bill, but the only thing I'm a little nervous of still there is he's gotten limited NHL time and hasn't produced, where in the AHL he produces at a good clip.
He's an impact player in the American League. No question about that. Coming off of a 30-something goal year a couple of years ago, he definitely adds a big element to the American League. If you look at what his traits are as a player, and I don't – sometimes I make these comparisons, that guy. But I don't mean it in any kind of a negative way. But I'm saying if you look at what he's done in the American League and what he's done in the National Hockey League, it's kind of similar to Jerry Mayhew. Jerry Mayhew 1 year I think had it was 38 goals in 48 games in the American League 1 year.
Jeez.
With the Iowa Wild and 9 goals in 10 or 12 playoff games that year. So he's been a major scorer in the American League. He came up to the Flyers and, he wasn't an impact player. Yeah. And he scored a goal or two kind of quickly, actually, the year that Mike Yeo was the interim coach. I actually so much so
that Dave Scott had his jersey.
Yeah. Dave was quite impressed by his very small sample size very quickly.
Yeah.
Same thing here. You pump the brakes a little bit. Richard definitely has great speed. There's no question about that. He's one thing with Michkov not playing is that he's gotten on the power play the last couple games. We'll see. Maybe he'll go to the second unit for a little while here. Nice goal on that delayed penalty. Benefited from a kind of a layered screen in front of the net.
Yeah, and a moving one with Forster kind of crossing through as well.
Right. He had two guys in front. He had Forster moving screen right in front, and he had Frost in front trying to tip the puck.
Yep. So and a great shot in the middle of the ice.
Yeah. So much. I mean, so much so it was so perfectly placed. I had actually wondered if maybe Forster had gotten a piece of it in front.
Yeah, I did as well.
And no, it went in cleanly. So that was a heck of a shot. He definitely fire the puck. I mean, I think that he's earned another couple games here, but there's a reason why, except for the rarest exceptions, that a guy 27 or 28 was 24 NHL games and as scored as he has in the American League is going to become an NHL full-time kind of player. Enjoy what he's doing right now. See if he can keep it up. But he's not a guy I'm penciling into my top 12 right now. Certainly not replacing guys. The speed definitely is nice though.
Yeah, I really like what Ristolainen did on that play. Yeah. They gave him ice, he took it. He gave him a little bit more ice, he took it. He got to the top of the circles, and he just pushed all the Tampa players down. And then he drops it off to Konechny, who's got immediate pressure, and he drops it off to the middle, and everything's flowing to the net. That's that's how you attack in waves and layers, like the Kulikov goal in the Florida game. I implore people to go back and watch how much motion is on the ice for Florida and how much is going on, and think about that, what that would be like to defend, because it's all moving all in different it's the old cycle of the Legion of Doom when they would just start cycling the puck, and the defending team is just like, geez, where do we go?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Florida puts on puck movement clinics all the time. Whether and they can go high to low.
Yep.
As good as any team, cycle down low or make that play low to high where you have traffic moving in front.
Yeah.
And as long as the point shot's on the net, you have a pretty good chance of getting deflected or creating a rebound or sometimes going in cleanly. That teams like that are very, very, very hard to defend.
Yeah, no doubt. That Florida team, man, they're a lot of fun to watch. I'll tell you that. They check a lot of the big time boxes. What'd you think of Erson's return in that game? I didn't know that he was going to go coming up in that game, and all of a sudden, boom, he's in there. Yeah, I thought he just looked like Sam Erson again. I don't think his numbers are indicative of how good he's been so far this season at all.
No, he's had some games where the shot totals haven't been that high, which so you let in 3 on 24 shots, and it looks like you had a mediocre game. But it all depends on the goals themselves. I thought there's really only maybe 3 goals so that he's let in so far that maybe he could have had it. No, I thought he just kept rolling. And I thought it was an impressive game. Now the fact that when Sam made the trip and was on the ice, I had a feeling that he might play by the Florida game.
Yeah.
So it didn't shock me that he was ready to go for the final game there. Really, really nice to see him just kind of snap right back in because he'd been in such a good groove.
Yeah, and I didn't want to see anything disrupt it. Yeah, he's got a demeanor about him and just a confidence in when he's playing well. I mean, this is a guy who's got, 6-7 shutouts already in the NHL.
Yeah.
I mean, when he's on it, he is on it. And he just needs to be that guy with much more consistency, although I think he's off to a really good start this year, a really nice step forward early. Bill, got one more here I want to tackle with you. I got this email from Joshua Hunter. He said, first off, I want to say I've been listening since your first show, and I love your takes and insight on the team. I had a question about Sam Erson's glove. He said he has a strap that hangs down from his glove. Do most goalies cut that off or tuck it in somewhere? I've never seen it from another goalie, so I found it odd. Thanks again for the show. Love the content. Have a good day, and go Flyers. So since we do, a lot of people consume this podcast on YouTube. We do some video props from time to time. And Sam does have a strap that hangs down and flops around quite a bit. And you'll see him actually pull on it quite a bit, too. So what it is, this is a modern-day NHL glove. This is actually very similar to Sam's glove. This is a CCM glove, and it was designed by a guy. Where does it say his name? I know it does on here somewhere. It says designed by Lefebvre. It says it right here, CCM Lefebvre. That's who designed Sam's stuff, but for a different company, True Hockey, who we went to. And this is a very similar glove to it. As a matter of fact, this was Curtis McElhaney's glove that CCM sent me when he got traded and could no longer use the blue glove. So that strap, Bill, is actually, as I get my hand in this stinky glove, is right here. And what this strap does, if I pull on this, you hear it lock a little bit. It locks that. There's a mechanism in here. Now I can't get it out because I tightened it so damn much. But there's a mechanism in there. I don't know if people can see it. But this is like a collar for your wrist, and it locks it in place a little bit better so the glove doesn't slide off when it gets wet. So that's what that strap is. Some goalies, they'll strap it, put it in down here, just tuck it in. Now it won't flap around. So that's exactly what that is.
Yeah, and you've talked about how, too, with the goalie, with your comfort level, you don't even want to feel your equipment, right?
Yeah.
And some goalies like it straps so tight. I mean, it feels soldered onto your hand.
Yeah.
But that's, and it's all just a matter of personal preference. You know what I think would be a cool thing to do one of these days, too, would be a little bit on the evolution of things like the gloves. Like look at the old goalie gloves that are, there you go.
All right, look at the size of this thing.
Yeah.
This is circa 1986, I want to say. When I open that, this is like what Ron Hextall would have used with the Flyers.
Yeah.
This is a Cooper, what is it? The Durso? I think it's an SK Pro. Certainly not as much padding. Does have this strap here is actually a pinky lock. So that's pulling on my pinky to lock it in. It does have another strap like that other one did here. It's an old leather one, but I got it tucked in, and it's right there for the wrist strap. But this is actually a notched leather strap under there. But the evolution of the glove, look how big it was opened compared. It's crazy.
Oh,
and this little thing right here, Bill.
Yeah.
Do you know what this is called on the glove? And I'll tell you what it's called and who designed it for the first time. Gloves didn't used to have that. You just had the wrist break here. Then this little piece of cardboard probably initially was put in there, or plastic, and that's called the cheater because it adds that space.
Right. Yeah.
And the first goalie was a former Flyer goalie to design it. Pete Peters.
Oh, okay.
Not shocking.
No, not the least bit shocking. And Pete came up when the goalie glove. You go when Pete first came up in the late 70s.
Yep.
It was still like a first baseman's mitt. It was still
Very similar.
Still fairly small.
Yeah, and the outside was rounded like a first baseman's glove as well. Yeah, to collect pucks. Now this glove, like what Sam uses, is a 600 break glove, which closes a little different than this. Is a 580 break, so this one closes across. 600 will close a little more up in this area. It's just preference, and it gives you a different feel when you're trying to play the puck with your stick as well. So that's the answer. So I hope the emailer can see that, Joshua Hunter. That is exactly why. My hand smells like a dead animal now.
Yes.
I haven't put my hand in that glove in a while since I stopped playing a couple of years ago. But I figured we'd break out the props and have some fun with that. So great stuff. Read Bill's work at PhiladelphiaFlyers.com and NHL.com. Flyers and the San Jose Sharks coming up tonight. We'll break it down tomorrow. Join us then on a brand new Flyers Daily.